The Aetherian warship Starweaver drifted silently through the debris field that was once their most prosperous colony. Admiral Lyra Tellin stood motionless on the bridge, her luminescent skin dimmed with grief as she watched fragments of homes and lives float past the viewscreen. The Voidborn's attack had come without warning, turning Paradise Station into a graveyard in mere hours. Admiral, her sensor officer's voice cracked. We're detecting an unknown energy signature at the edge of the system. Lyra's four-fingered hand tightened on the command rail. After 3 centuries of peace, the Aetherian Alliance had forgotten the true face of war. The Voidborn remembered, though. They remembered and brought that knowledge screaming back into the galaxy with plasma fire and kinetic rounds. Multiple vessels emerging from. It's not like any FTL signature we've seen before, the officer continued. Configuration unknown. They're not Voidborn. The unknown ships appeared on the main display. Sleek, angular vessels with none of the organic curves of Aetherian design or the crystalline structures favored by the Voidborn. They moved with precise coordination, spreading out in a defensive formation that spoke of military experience. They're hailing us, communications reported. Audio and visual. Lyra straightened her ceremonial robes. Accept transmission. The face that appeared on the screen was unlike any she had seen in her 2 centuries of life. The alien had pale skin, dark eyes, and lacked both the bioluminescence of her people and the crystalline growths of the Voidborn. Its expression was unreadable to her. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force vessel Normandy. We detected the weapons discharge from 3 systems over. Do you require assistance? Lyra felt a chill run through her. 3 systems over. No known species had sensors that could detect combat at such ranges. I am Admiral Lyra Tellin of the Aetherian Alliance. The assistance you offer comes too late. This was Paradise Station, home to 30,000 of my people. The Voidborn Empire has declared war on us, though we still don't understand why. The human's expression hardened in a way that transcended species barriers. The Voidborn. We've been monitoring their expansion. They hit civilian targets first. Yes. No warning, no demands. They simply. Lyra gestured at the devastation around them. Classic terror tactics, another human voice said off-screen. Hit the soft targets first. Demoralize the enemy. Make them think resistance is futile. Captain Chen's eyes never left the screen. Admiral Tellin, humanity has chosen to remain apart from galactic politics until now. We've watched, we've learned, we've prepared. The Voidborn's actions here. She paused, choosing her words carefully. They've made their intentions clear. If you're willing to accept our help, the Earth Defense Force stands ready. Lyra studied the human vessels again. They were smaller than both Aetherian and Voidborn ships, but something about their design spoke of contained lethality. Like primitive projectile weapons, compact but deadly. Why would you help us? You don't know us. You owe us nothing. Because 30,000 civilians just died, Admiral. Because the Voidborn think they can act without consequences, and because humanity has a long history of standing against bullies. Chen's lips curved in what Lyra would later learn was called a smile, though it held no warmth. Besides, we've been looking for a good reason to field test our new weapon systems. Before Lyra could respond, her tactical officer called out in alarm. Multiple Voidborn signatures detected. They're returning to finish the job. The massive crystalline ships of the Voidborn emerged from FTL, their weapons already charging. In previous encounters, this was when the Aetherians fled, unable to stand against the overwhelming firepower. But Captain Chen's expression hadn't changed. Admiral Tellin, please move your vessel back. We'll handle this. Handle this. There are 6 Voidborn dreadnoughts. You have only 4 ships. 5 dreadnoughts, Chen corrected calmly. Watch carefully. You might want to take notes. The human ships accelerated toward the Voidborn fleet with what seemed like suicidal intent. The Voidborn opened fire, their energy weapons cutting brilliant paths through space and hitting nothing. The human vessels moved with impossible agility, their engines leaving brief afterimages as they dodge. Releasing strike craft, Chen announced, though Lyra saw nothing launch. Engaging electronic warfare suite. The Voidborn ships suddenly began firing wildly, their coordinated assault dissolving into chaos. Then Lyra saw them. Tiny points of light appearing inside the Voidborn formation. The humans had somehow gotten fighters past the dreadnought shields. The battle that followed would be studied in Aetherian war colleges for generations. The human ships danced through the Voidborn formation, their weapons seemingly weak compared to the massive energy weapons of their opponents. But each shot struck with surgical precision. Weapons, engines, sensor arrays. They weren't trying to destroy the dreadnoughts. They were crippling them. In less than 20 minutes, 5 Voidborn dreadnoughts hung powerless in space, their crews trapped inside their own ships. Not one human vessel showed significant damage. Admiral, Chen's voice carried a note of satisfaction. I believe this would be a good time to discuss the terms of an alliance. The Voidborn are about to discover that humanity doesn't appreciate bullies in our galactic neighborhood. As Lyra watched the human ships secure their disabled enemies, she felt something she hadn't experienced since the war began. Hope. But mixed with that hope was a hint of fear. If this was what humans could do with just 4 ships, what else were they capable of? She would soon find out. They all would. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the Combined War Council of the Aetherian Alliance, her dress uniform a stark contrast to their flowing robes. 3 weeks had passed since humanity's intervention at Paradise Station, and the Voidborn had gone suspiciously quiet. The vast chamber, carved from living crystal, held representatives from 12 species. All of them watched her with varying degrees of hope and suspicion. The captured Voidborn dreadnoughts hung in orbit above, a testament to human military prowess that none could ignore. The Voidborn aren't retreating, Chen began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. They're adapting. Our initial victory surprised them, but they're studying our tactics, analyzing our weaknesses. Their next attack will be different. Admiral Tellin leaned forward. Then we must strike first. Your ships are not the solution you think they are, Chen interrupted. The Voidborn will be ready for our standard tactics now. That's why we're going to show them something new. She gestured, and a holographic display materialized above the council table. This is how humanity fights when we get creative. The display showed what appeared to be ordinary cargo ships, the kind that plied trade routes by the thousands. The Voidborn expect another direct confrontation. They're fortifying their forward bases, strengthening their shields, developing countermeasures to our electronic warfare. But they're not watching their supply lines. A murmur ran through the council. The Aetherian Minister of Defense, Karn Val, spoke up. Supply lines. The Voidborn use automated drone ships for resupply. They're impossible to intercept. Chen's smile carried an edge that made several council members shift uncomfortably. Impossible is a strong word, Minister. Humanity has a saying. Everything has a weakness. You just have to be willing to think differently to find it. The hologram shifted, showing the internal schematics of what looked like modified mining equipment. These are corridor breakers, originally designed for asteroid mining. We've made some adjustments. The Voidborn's automated supply ships follow fixed FTL corridors, passing through specific gravitational points where spacetime is already under stress. Understanding dawned on Admiral Tellin's face. You're going to collapse their supply routes. Better, Chen replied. We're going to turn their supply lines into traps. The Voidborn think they know how humans fight after one battle. They expect warships, fighter squadrons, direct confrontation. Instead, they're going to get their supply ships arriving at their bases carrying something very different from supplies. The council chamber erupted in overlapping questions, but Chen raised her hand for silence. I know this isn't how your species wage war. The Voidborn expect that. They expect straightforward battles, fleet actions, sieges. They've built their entire strategy around countering those tactics. So we're going to show them how humans wage asymmetric warfare. She touched a control, and the hologram showed a massive void-born battle station. This is their primary forward base in the Helios sector. 3 rings of defenses, energy shields that could withstand a supernova, enough firepower to glass a continent. They think it's impregnable. The image zoomed in on tiny, inconspicuous maintenance drones. But every 12 hours, it receives automated supply shipments. Ships that pass through the same spatial coordinates we've mapped down to the quantum level. Minister Val leaned forward. You're saying you can predict exactly where their ships will emerge from FTL. Better than that. Chen's expression was grim. We can be waiting inside them when they do. The Voidborn are about to learn that humans don't just think outside the box. We deny the existence of the box entirely. The plan she laid out over the next hour left the Council in stunned silence. It violated dozens of conventional military doctrines, ignored supposedly immutable laws of physics, and proposed tactics that bordered on insanity. But none could deny the cold logic behind it. This is not honorable combat, one of the elder council members finally said. No, Chen agreed. This is survival. The Voidborn chose to target civilians, to wage a war of terror. They forfeited any right to honorable combat when they murdered 30,000 innocents. Now they face humanity, and we're going to show them why our history books are filled with victories that should have been impossible. As the council debated, signals from deep-cover human operatives were already being received. The Voidborn supply ships had been tagged, their paths mapped, their vulnerabilities identified. Humanity's response to their atrocity was about to begin, and it would rewrite everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. The next day, when the first Voidborn supply ships arrived at their forward base, they carried more than just supplies. They carried humanity's answer to terror, precision, ingenuity, and a willingness to do whatever it took to win. The Voidborn were about to learn that they hadn't just awakened a sleeping giant. They'd awakened a nightmare. The Voidborn called it the Purifying Fleet, 10,000 ships strong. It emerged from the darkness between stars like a tide of crystalline death. Their response to humanity's guerrilla tactics was brutally simple, overwhelming force. They would crush everything in their path, leaving no place for shadows to hide. Captain Chen watched the tactical display aboard the Normandy as the massive fleet approached. The Voidborn had learned from their earlier defeats. Their ships now moved in tight formations that left no blind spots. Their supply lines were heavily guarded, and their electronic defenses had been completely redesigned. They've adapted well, Admiral Tellen's hologram noted grimly. This is their entire military might. They mean to end this war in one strike. Chen's expression remained neutral, but her eyes held a dangerous glint. Good. That saves us the trouble of hunting them down. She opened a secure channel to all Earth Defense Force vessels. Execute Operation Pandora. Across 3 sectors of space, hidden human installations sprang to life. Not military bases, the Voidborn had been watching for those. These were automated mining platforms, refugee processing centers, medical stations, perfectly innocent facilities that had been processing legitimate traffic for weeks. Until they received Chen's signal. The massive Voidborn fleet suddenly found itself caught in a web of gravitational distortions. Their perfectly coordinated formation began to splinter as local space-time twisted in ways their sensors insisted were impossible. Humans have a saying. Chen transmitted on an open channel to the Voidborn command ship. Never bring a knife to a gunfight. You brought ships to a battle against a species that's been studying how to break the laws of physics for centuries. The mining platforms revealed their true purpose. They were nodes in a vast gravity manipulation network, each one activated in sequence, creating a cascading wave of spatial distortions that turned normal space into a maze of death. Voidborn ships found themselves pulled apart by tidal forces their shields were never designed to resist. Others were compressed into spaces that violated every principle of their design. The proud purifying fleet began to break apart before firing a single shot. But Chen wasn't finished. "Now, Admiral Tellin, if you would." The Aetherian fleet emerged from hiding, their ships modified with human technology. They no longer fought with elegant energy weapons and precise shield harmonics. Instead, they launched swarms of autonomous drones that ignored shields entirely, phasing through them to attach to crystalline hulls. The problem with building your ships from living crystal, Chen explained to the increasingly panicked Voidborn commanders, is that crystal can be shattered. All you need is the right frequency. The drones activated in unison. Each emitted a precise resonance that turned the Voidborn's greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. Their living ships began to crack from within, the crystalline structures that gave them their power becoming the instrument of their destruction. "This isn't warfare." The Voidborn Supreme Commander's transmission carried equal parts rage and fear. "You're breaking fundamental laws of physics." "No," Chen corrected. "We're breaking your understanding of them." Humanity spent centuries confined to one planet, dreaming of the stars. When we finally reached them, we made sure we understood them better than anyone else. Your mistake was thinking that just because something had never been done, it couldn't be done. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the mighty purifying fleet was reduced to scattered fragments and crippled vessels. Not through overwhelming firepower or superior numbers, but through humanity's unique talent for turning scientific principles into weapons. As rescue operations began for the surviving Voidborn crews, Admiral Tellin's hologram studied Chen carefully. "You could have done this at any time, couldn't you? Even during our first encounter." Chen nodded slowly. "We needed to understand their capabilities first. And," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "we needed the galaxy to understand that we tried less extreme measures first. What happened today wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about sending a message." "What message?" "That humanity will match and exceed any level of escalation our enemies choose." The Voidborn thought they could win through pure military might. "We showed them that humanity's real strength isn't in our weapons. It's in our minds, in our ability to look at the impossible and say we can do that." As salvage teams began their work, reports came in from across Voidborn space. Their remaining forces were in chaos, their command structure shattered along with their fleet. But Chen knew this wasn't over. The Voidborn would regroup, would try one last desperate gambit. And humanity would be ready, because they hadn't revealed everything yet. Not even close. The Voidborn homeworld of Christos hung in space like a massive geode, its surface a maze of crystalline spires and living architecture. For millennia, it had been the unassailable heart of their empire. No enemy had ever penetrated its defenses. No hostile ship had ever entered its atmosphere. Until now. A single human vessel descended through the crystalline clouds, its hull reflecting the prismatic light of the twin suns. Not a warship, a diplomatic shuttle. Captain Chen stood at its viewport, watching the panic she knew was spreading through the Voidborn hierarchy below. "They're sending up interceptors," her pilot reported calmly. "Let them come," Chen replied. "They're about to learn the cost of ignorance." The Voidborn ships approached, weapons charged, then suddenly stopped, their crystalline forms vibrating with visible distress. Chen activated the shuttle's external speakers, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Your weapons are now useless. Your shields are compromised. And your entire defense network is under our control. We could have come with a fleet. Instead, we came with a message." In the Capitol spire below, the Voidborn High Command watched in horror as their most sophisticated defense systems shut down one by one. Not through brute force or superior firepower, but through infiltration so subtle they hadn't even detected it. 3 weeks ago, Chen continued, her voice echoing through every communication channel on the planet, "we seeded your atmosphere with microscopic quantum-entangled particles. Every breath your people have taken since then has brought our technology into your living crystal architecture. You've integrated it into your very being." The shuttle landed unopposed in the central plaza of the Capitol. Chen stepped out alone, facing the gathered Voidborn leaders. Their crystalline forms towered over her, but she showed no fear. "Humanity doesn't need massive fleets or planet-killing weapons," she announced. "We've spent our history fighting ourselves, learning to turn anything and everything into an advantage. You thought you could defeat us with conventional warfare, but humans." She smiled. "We stopped fighting conventional wars centuries ago." Around the planet, Voidborn ships began powering down, their crystal matrices infiltrated by human technology at the quantum level. Their mighty empire, built on the assumption that bigger weapons and stronger shields meant victory, was being dismantled by particles smaller than atoms. "Your entire society is based on crystal technology," Chen explained to the stunned Voidborn leadership. "It's elegant, powerful, and incredibly advanced. But it's also predictable. And humanity, we specialize in chaos." A hologram appeared above the plaza, showing the full extent of human infiltration. Every crystal structure on the planet was now laced with quantum-scale machines that could alter their very molecular structure. The Voidborn hadn't just lost their military advantage. They'd lost control of the technology that defined their civilization. "We could destroy everything you've built," Chen stated matter-of-factly. "Turn your living crystals into dust with a single command. Instead, we're offering you a choice." She produced a small crystal, perfectly formed, but unlike anything the Voidborn had seen. "This contains the specifications for a new type of crystal matrix. One that can't be weaponized. One that will let your people advance and grow, but never again threaten another species." The Voidborn Supreme Commander, its crystalline form dulled with defeat, spoke. "You would remake our entire civilization." "No," Chen corrected. "We're giving you the tools to remake it yourselves. Because humanity has learned something in all our centuries of warfare. True victory isn't about destruction. It's about transformation." Around them, the crystal spires of the capital began to pulse with new patterns, demonstrating the potential of the human design matrix. It showed possibilities the Voidborn had never imagined, ways to use their living crystal technology for creation rather than destruction. "Your empire was built on the assumption that power comes from dominance," Chen continued. "We're showing you that real power comes from adaptation, from evolution, from choosing to be better than what you were." As the Voidborn leadership debated among themselves, hidden human sensors throughout the planet recorded everything. This wasn't just about winning a war. It was about ensuring it never happened again. Humanity had proved they could destroy the Voidborn Empire. Now they were proving they could do something far more difficult: change it. But in orbit above Crystallos, Earth's most advanced warships remained cloaked and ready, because humanity had learned another lesson from its long history: trust, but verify. The Voidborn would be given their chance at transformation, but under the watchful eyes of a species that had mastered the art of preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. 1 year after the surrender of the Voidborn Empire, the great council chamber of the Galactic Concordat hummed with nervous energy. Representatives from 30 species gathered to witness something unprecedented: humanity's formal integration into galactic society. Admiral Lyra Tellen watched Captain Chen approach the central podium, remembering their first meeting amid the ruins of Paradise Station. The human wore her dress uniform again, but this time she stood before allies rather than suspicious strangers. "The transformation of the Voidborn Empire is complete," Chen reported, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Their crystal technology has been fully converted to peaceful applications. Their military vessels have been repurposed for exploration and trade. The species that once threatened galactic peace has become a model for technological cooperation." The council members murmured among themselves. Everyone had expected humanity to simply destroy the Voidborn. Instead, they had done something far more impressive. They had changed them. "But that's not why we're here today," Chen continued. "We're here to discuss humanity's role in the galaxy going forward." She activated a holographic display, showing Earth's solar system. "For centuries, we watched, we learned, and we prepared. Now it's time to share what we've learned." The display expanded, revealing a network of human installations and technological achievements that left many council members gasping. Quantum manipulation systems that defied conventional physics, biomechanical interfaces that merged organic and artificial intelligence, power generation methods that harvested energy from the quantum foam itself. Humanity developed these advances in isolation, Chen explained, because we needed to understand ourselves before we could safely share them with others. The Voidborn crisis proved that we made the right choice. An elder council member, his scales shimmering with age, spoke up. You possessed this level of technology all along, even before the war. What we showed during the conflict was a fraction of our capabilities, Chen confirmed. We revealed only what was necessary to end the threat, because humanity has learned that the true measure of power isn't in what you can do, it's in what you choose not to do. The implications of this statement sent a chill through the chamber. Every species present was suddenly reevaluating their understanding of humanity. They had thought the humans impressive during the war, but now they realized they had seen only the surface of human potential. Admiral Tellin stepped forward. You could have dominated the galaxy at any time. Why reveal yourselves now? Chen's expression softened slightly. Because isolation serves no one. Because the galaxy needs balance, not just between power and restraint, but between innovation and wisdom. She gestured to the transformed Voidborn representatives. Look at what we accomplished together. Not just victory in war, but victory over war itself. The holographic display shifted again, showing plans for joint scientific ventures, cultural exchange programs, and technological cooperation initiatives. But keen observers noticed something else. Subtle hints of defensive systems and contingency plans woven into every proposal. Humanity offers partnership, Chen declared, but we will not offer blind trust. We've studied galactic history extensively. We know how quickly peace can turn to war, how easily cooperation can become exploitation. She touched a control, and the chamber's environmental systems briefly flickered, a subtle but clear demonstration of human technological control. Consider this your invitation and your warning. Humanity seeks friends, not subjects. Allies, not vassals. We offer advancement, but we will not tolerate aggression. The message was clear. Humanity's hand was extended in friendship, but their other hand remained ready for combat. They had demonstrated both their capacity for violence and their preference for peace. As the Council debated the terms of humanity's integration, various species representatives whispered among themselves. They had gained powerful allies, yes, but they had also discovered that their galaxy harbored a sleeping giant, one that had awoken and revealed itself to be far more formidable than anyone had imagined. The Voidborn War had ended not just with a new peace, but with a new understanding. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species. They were the species that had waited, watched, and prepared. The species that could reshape reality itself. The species that chose to use that power not for dominance, but for transformation. As Captain Chen concluded her presentation, she shared one final thought. Earth has a saying, power corrupts. We've spent centuries ensuring that our power serves wisdom rather than ambition. We invite you all to join us in that journey. But remember, her eyes swept the chamber with quiet intensity. We will be watching. Always. The galaxy would never be the same, but perhaps, under the watchful eyes of humanity, it would be better.